Greetings again, viewers. Last time in Dark Souls we went through the depths, and this time we're back at Firelink Shrine because we made a new friend and we need to say hello.
Well, I see you made it out. Yeah, I made it out safely too. I have my Pyromancy the Great Sword, so I can usually manage with a bit of care. Oh yeah, by the way, I can share my spells with you. I think you have a knack for it. All you need are the materials. I'll be pleased to help you. Unless you find the magics unsavory.
Pro tip, say no.
Yeah, wonderful. I'm sure that, they'll be of some use, some assistance. Here, first take this. A flame from the Great Swamp. Now you're a fully fledged pyromancer. Why, let's get started right now.
So to cast Pyromancies, we need a Pyromancy flame, and that's what we just got. Laurentius here is the first Pyromancy trainer you can find in the game, and he sells us quite a few of them, and I'm going to buy them all actually. We can also upgrade our Pyromancy flame here, which is the only means of increasing the power of our Pyromancies. So you might want to upgrade the Pyromancy flame as soon as you can, because it'll mean strong spells early in the game.
Pyromancy is the art of casting fire. Produce flame, then channel it, just as our ancestors did. A pyromancer must be in tune with nature herself. My home, the Great Swamp, is an abundant store of nature. You will understand one day. It only takes time. Pyromancy has a, well, rather primitive aspect to it. It meshes poorly with advanced culture, and pyromancers are considered rather unsavory, which is fine, as I never got along with anybody anyway. So, for me, turning undead didn't change a thing. A pyromancer's flame is a part of his own body. The flame develops right along with his skill. When I gave you that flame, I gave you a part of myself. Please take good care of it. A pyromancer's flame, please. Goodbye then. Be safe, friend. Don't you dare go alone.
Laurentius is one of the nicest guys in the game.
How did that old man make it back? Unexpected. But I suppose stranger things have happened. You again? There's nothing to speak about, really. Oh, actually, something strange did happen. That crow flew off with somebody in its clutches. I think it was a man curled up in a ball. Stranger things have happened, right? No, maybe not. What now? I'm not up for chatting. Leave me alone.
About the crow carrying people curled up as balls, maybe we'll see that at some point.
Oh, hello there. Have you spoken with Sir Lautrec? Splendid. In the depths of the catacombs, Milady slipped off the giant's coffin and into a hole. Her two companions are no longer human, and the lass weeps in solitude. Right now, you could do as you please with her. The poor little purebred is entirely helpless.
Kinda makes me wonder if maybe Petrus had something to do with that little accident Rhea, Wince, and Nico had.
Come again. The effectiveness of the teachings depend upon your faith.
Oh great, now he pretends like he didn't even say that. So far, we've upgraded our weapons, but let's just go ahead and also ascend them. I'll explain more about that in a second.
Ah, why, that's a fine ember you have there. I could smith some mighty weapons with one of those. Why not lend it to me?
If you're a terrible person, you can say no, but other than that, there's no reason to do that.
Magnificent! You won't be disappointed. I can hardly wait to get started. This is the old church. It was abandoned in favor of the church that you passed through. There are paths leading from here to two forbidden plains, Sen's Fortress and the Darkroot Garden. They attract all sorts of lunatics, no one as cultured as yourself. It's fine to be undead, but keep a level head, eh? Sen's Fortress is an old proving grounds built by the ancient gods. It is the only route leading to the great Anor Londo. Of course, most fools can't even find their way into that fortified death trap. But they won't stop trying. Take that bumbling Sir Onion. I know little of the Darkroot Garden, although I've heard rumors of a divine blacksmith who resides there. Those who get stumped in the catacombs seek him for divine weapons.
If your weapon is at a certain level, you can ascend it. In this case, we can upgrade a +5 weapon to a +6 weapon using the large ember. There are various upgrade paths in this game. For instance, later we will be able to upgrade our weapons to lightning, fire, magic, divine, and some other weapons too. For instance, we will be able to make very special weapons out of the souls of bosses. We don't have to go down here yet. We also could have come here earlier. And this guy here, well, he's a Titanite demon. They are rather easy to fight if you know how. It's pretty easy if you just stay close. You have to be careful because they can't just jump into that. They can also hurt you with their tail, so if you stand behind them, hold that in mind. Fighting this Titanite demon here is, well, it's optional. You could just run past him if you felt like it, but we get something nice for killing him. And what we get for killing him is actually upgrade related. In this game there's various materials used for upgrading. We already got plenty of normal Titanite shards, also some large Titanite shards and green Titanite. Now the regular Titanite shards and the large ones are basically used just to upgrade weapons down the normal path, while the green ones are used to upgrade it down a more special path. There's more than that. For instance here, Demon Titanite. It's used to upgrade weapons we created out of the souls of bosses. And hey, we might even see one of those weapons in this video here. Stay tuned. We got us some Pyromancy here. As I already pointed out, Pyromancy doesn't rely on any stat, like intelligence or faith, but instead on the Pyromancy flame you use to cast it, which you can upgrade. This makes Pyromancies really useful for builds that, well, don't rely on intelligence and faith, but instead maybe strength, endurance, vitality, or any other stat, or no stat at all. Because it all comes down to the Pyromancy flame. Saying that Pyromancy isn't affected by stats at all is kind of a lie, I have to admit. Because dexterity affects all three kinds of magic. Not in their attack power, but the casting speed can increase quite a lot if you just stat dexterity. So, if you play a magic based build, no matter what kind of magic you use, dexterity is a good stat to invest in. These enemies here can get kind of annoying. What's important to know is that you can't just hit them and stagger them and interrupt their every move. They're not very dangerous if you hold that in mind. When blocking their attacks, just keep in mind that their attacks take off a lot of stamina and may even break your guard. Look at this door here. Oops, we can't go through here yet, but look at that wall here as well. Wow, it wasn't a wall at all. Welcome to the first hidden bonfire of the game. There will be a few more, believe me. To enter that glowy gate, we need an item we could have already bought from Andre, but it costs 20,000 souls, so I decided not to do it just yet. Hey, do you think this is a trap? Well, yeah, it is. As soon as you pick up this item, well, bush men will pop out of the ground and attack you. And Pyromancy does wonders against them. For one, they're weak against fire, plus the spell we're using, Fire Orb, can actually hit more than one of them at the same time. There aren't very many open areas in the game. This is the first of just a few. Look at that green tree over there, by the way, and remember where it is, because it might be in a different spot later on. I decided to stick to the left wall here, because I know this area and this is the easiest way. Those are weird enemies, by the way. They only appear twice in the game, both in this area, and they're easy to defeat as well. Now, the weapon of choice for this area, at least the weapon I chose, definitely not the best choice, is the Gargoyle Tail Axe. It is not a very good weapon, it's fairly weak, but it is, I think, the only axe weapon in the game that scales with dexterity. So if you have a dexterity build and want to use an axe, this is a good choice of weapon. And oh look, a giant stone knight. They will get up and you can easily hit them a few times before they even notice you're there. This was a particularly easy encounter here, I have to say. It's easily missed, but under those bushes here is a summoning sign. And you know what an NPC summoning sign means. Yes, a boss fight is right around the corner. For this boss fight, I normally wouldn't summon her if it didn't mean that we are going to miss out on some item later on, or a chance to summon her again later for a much more difficult boss. Meet Witch Beatrice. Try projectile, that's a smart idea actually. This upcoming boss is most easily fought using ranged attacks. Whether you use a bow or magic, or in our case, in particular Pyromancy, is completely up to you. The Moonlight Butterfly, of course, if you don't want to use ranged attacks, after a while will come down for you, close enough to attack. In the meantime, most of its attacks are also projectile based. And if you just roll in time, you can dodge. You can also block them, but since they do magic damage... Oh, it's already dead. Well, damn. Anyway, yes. At this point, you're not very likely to have a shield that blocks an awful lot of magic damage, even though you are able to get one. And of course, if it comes down, it will charge up and cause an explosion. As I have illustrated, it's not a very hard boss fight, even if you go close. But I had some pyromancy, so I used ranged attacks. Of course, there is a reason to come here, because for defeating it you get a key, we will find out more about that later, and the Divine Ember allowing us to upgrade our weapons using Green Titanite down the Divine path. Divine weapons are going to be pretty important later, but for now let's just go on and return. On the way back we might be able to see parts of Darkroot Garden we haven't seen yet. That glowy flame over there is a particularly nice one. I really like it because it is the spot where one of my favorite sets of armor in the game is hidden. Of course, it's well guarded. There's another of those giant stone knights and two of those bush people there. And then there's another giant stone knight and two more of those plant people. I don't know what to call them, honestly. But yes, here we see the Tranquil Walk of Peace. It's a miracle we could also learn. What it does is, it slows down every enemy that is close enough to us. And right now we're the enemy, and that Stone Knight is the one who cast the miracle. Almost died there, but survived still. If you get out of the area of effect of the Tranquil Walk of Peace, you can walk normally again, of course. But in this case, I think the miracle just wore off. The Gargoyle Tail Axe is upgraded to +7 to make it viable here. For other weapons, a +5 might suffice. I give that weapon a lot more shit than it deserves, because I have to admit it really does a good job against these Stone Knights. And the Elite Knight set. One of my favorite sets in the game. It looks really cool and has pretty good defenses all around. Oh, and by the way, up there ahead. Well, I'm gonna turn around in a second and show you again. But remember that green tree I pointed out earlier that was standing in a completely different spot? That, you know, is now behind us? There it is. Why is it there? I don't get it. But, well, it blocked another path earlier and we're going down it right now. Those fellas have a good chance to drop green blossoms. Green blossoms are really nice. If you use them, they increase the rate at which your stamina recovers for, well, a minute roughly, I would say. And check this out, there's another one of those trees. But this one's more obviously moving. We see the roots and it moves around. And yes, we can kill it, it's a living thing. It doesn't attack, and we could have also felled that other one if we had felt like it, but there was no need to do that. Behold my pro tip for this area. Stick to the left, because, well, if you go right, you will maybe wake up one of those Stone Knights. And, well, those guys come to ambush as well. If those two come together, they might become a problem. Turns out that the axe isn't a very good weapon against those because they aren't very tall. My swings go right over their heads, and I'm sad to say I mean that literally. The armor I decided to wear for this update is the Helm of the Wise, the Armor of the Glorious, the Gauntlets of the Vanquisher, and the Boots of the Explorer. Combined they are the entire set of armor Domhnall of Cena was wearing and selling to us. You know, that odd guy down in the sewers. Domhnall's dialogue and the flavor text of his armor are, by the way, the only times the kingdom or country of Cena, or whatever Cena even is, gets mentioned. You saw me deliberately walk past that Stone Knight for the obvious purpose of not having to fight him. Up there, though, is another Stone Knight we cannot just walk past. At least not without waking him up. Luckily, fighting those isn't very difficult if you just know how. Easiest to just get behind them and hit them until they die. That's my pro tip for you. And all this for a very good ring. The Wolf Ring. The Wolf Ring boosts our poise. We could jump down there and be back at the beginning of the area, or just walk back. From the soul of the Moonlight Butterfly, we can create either of those two weapons. Of course, if you manage to get a second soul of the Moonlight Butterfly via New Game Plus, you can create both of them. This character here has both. The first one is the Moonlight Butterfly's horn. Its flavor text reads, "Weapon born from the mystical creature of Darkroot Garden, the Moonlight Butterfly. The horns of the butterfly, a being created by Seath, are imbued with a magic power." The crystal ring shield, which can by the way shoot like that. Weapon born from the mystical creature of the Darkroot Garden, the Moonlight Butterfly, imbued with a powerful crystal power, like the butterfly created by Seath the Scaleless, can emit crystal light rings. Well, this is the first half of Darkroot Garden, or rather this is Darkroot Garden, and we're now going to enter a different part of the, well, Darkroot area. Another thing that might be important to note about the Moonlight Butterfly Spear is that it has solely magic damage, which makes it useful to penetrate shields of all kinds. you may remember that I briefly mentioned poise when we picked up the wolf ring, because the wolf ring boosts our poise by 40, which is a good amount. But what is poise? Well, the higher our poise value, the less likely we are to be interrupted during an attack when we're being hit by an enemy. And that's really nice. A light armor doesn't have any poise, mostly, but the heavier sets, and right now I'm wearing a medium heavy set, actually has some poise. So there's a good reason to favor heavy armor over light armor, unless you're really good at dodging. And up here, we're about to enter the Darkroot Basin. Like the part of Darkroot Garden we just visited, Darkroot Basin is a completely optional area. But even if an area is completely optional, there's always a good reason to come here. And not many games even do this anymore, but I really like when a game includes completely optional areas. That thing there I failed to kill is a crystal lizard. Crystal lizards, when killed, drop a titanite, rare titanite even. But if they are killed once, they won't respawn. However, this one just vanished, so if we go through here another time, it'll be here again. And we get our own starting gear, plus a longbow, which wasn't part of our starting gear. Anyway, part of why I really love this game is that it doesn't force its content down your throat. There are some areas that are really well hidden, but we're going to see them all. Of course, this one isn't that well hidden. In fact, it's just along the way. And I'm just carefully peeking down there because there is something. I know there is. A Black Knight. This one is actually using the Black Knight's halberd. If you're a first-time player, you might really love this weapon. And if you use the Master Key, there's a good chance you can get it early on if you get lucky when killing that guy. I have 5 humanity, so I have increased item drop rates. So I probably have a really good chance of getting it, but it's still not a guaranteed drop. However, as with all Black Knight weapons, none of them are missable. If we don't get it from that Black Knight now, we will be able to get it later. It's best to lure that Black Knight up there. Oh, that was unexpected. We got a blue titanite chunk, but no halberd, which is kind of a shame. But no matter. We probably wouldn't be able to wield it right now anyway. This is an important corpse because it holds the Grass Crest shield, which is a very good shield. It doesn't have a 100% physical block. What it has instead is stamina regeneration, or rather faster stamina regeneration. And look, a bonfire. We could continue on through that cave, but we're not going to yet. Instead, we're going to turn around. If we hadn't gone down to that Black Knight, but instead gone straight on, we would have come out here. This is another wide and open area, but in this case, well, it is probably best to progress slowly, and there's a reason for that, which we are going to see. Up here we can see several crystal golems in the distance, and even farther in the distance, hidden behind trees, something rather big. And since we don't want to have to fight that something big and the crystal golems at the same time, it's best to pull them out right here. When I showed off the Moonlight Butterfly's horn and the crystal ring shield earlier, you may remember that both of those items' flavor texts mentioned Seath the Scaleless. Now Seath, if you remember, is that dragon from the intro cinematic, which sat on top of a mountain of dragon corpses, screaming while crushing a dragon heart. So he seems like a nice guy. Anyway, those flavor texts mentioned that he created the Moonlight Butterfly. And since Seath has a fixation with crystals as well as magic, it's very likely that those crystal golems were created by him as well. Now you might wonder, does this mean that Seath is perhaps close by? No, he isn't. Sorry to spoil that for you. Anyway, enough about Seath, for now at least, because we killed all the crystal golems, and we can now go and fight this something big I mentioned earlier. And it is best to run as quickly as possible so you don't get hit by that water. If it hits, it hurts. It is likely to break your guard if you block, unless you use a really heavy shield. This thing may look familiar if you know a bit about Greek mythology. It is a Hydra. And it is most easy to fight it while being close to it. We get the knight set here in the water, and the easiest strategy to fight the Hydra is to wait for it to smash its heads down and then find one that is the closest and attack it. Eventually, you will chop one head off. Don't worry, it won't grow back too. The head will stay away. And there, the first one's already off. Now the Hydra is less dangerous because it has less heads to hit us with. The reason we're so close is that, well, if we're far away, it will shoot water at us, and that's difficult to dodge, and we don't really have a good means of attacking it from a range anyway. From here on, it'll pretty much be the same thing repeated over and over until all of the heads are off. And for some reason it didn't hit that one? What's up with that? I could swear I was close enough. Again? This has to be a joke. But anyway, yes, it's the same stuff repeated over and over, so let's just speed this up. We don't have to watch it all. Now after a while I just decided to switch to bow and arrow because I couldn't hit that one head for the life of it. But yes, even though it might take a while, if you do it for long enough, the Hydra will die even using bow and arrow. And for our troubles we got the Dragon Scale and the Dusk Crown Ring. Now with the Hydra defeated, we can actually go to one more spot in this area. And you might notice a recurring theme here, but sticking to the left wall seems to be something that happens quite a lot here. If you don't stick to the left wall, you will drown because the water gets too deep. Now a Dragon Scale, which you got from the Hydra, is used to upgrade dragon weapons. Like the Drake Sword or the Dragon King Great Axe. And the Dusk Crown, it doubles the charges of magic we can use, but halves our max HP while we wear it. Now whenever you go back here, there should be something, but sometimes it won't be here. If it's not here, you have to do the ancient art of quitting and reloading. Ah yes, there it is. Another final crystal golem in this area. And this one is yellow, so it has to be special. And I have to say, it will be a tough fight. Not because the golem itself is much different or harder to fight than the other ones, but because I have to fight this one in deep water. And I can only move very slowly in here. Now we will find a certain piece of equipment at some point that will allow us to move fast in the water. I could have it at this point, but I didn't get it yet. So I'll probably get it soon. But anyway, at least this shows you how difficult it will be to fight in fluids that slow you down a lot. Out of Estus, this is gonna be a close one probably. Especially since I have to run now and it is faster than me in the water. But hey, I can heal with humanity as well. Did I forget to mention that? And yes, if you are forced to keep a distance because you're way too slow to fight, it just shows you how useful ranged attacks can be, like these Pyromancies. That should have killed us here, but it didn't, and I'm glad for it. Ah yes, finally it is dead. And oh, someone appeared.
So, 'tis thou who rescueth me. Most gracious, I am deeply obliged. I am Dusk of Ulasil. I cometh from an age long before thine. I cannot stay here for long. So, before I disappear, allow me to ask one thing. My home, Ulasil, is the home of ancient sorceries. My hope is to pass this profound knowledge to thee, with thine approval. Would this be of assistance to thee? My heartfelt thanks. I am pleased beyond words. Then I shout, engrave my signature. If thou art in need, pray summon me from my signature. It seems that my time is done. May the great flames guide thee.
And this is Dusk of Ulasil, one of the most well-hidden NPCs in the game. And to access her, we have to get back to where we fought the Hydra and find her summon sign. And now she will appear and we can buy spells from her and also talk to her a little bit about that Ulasil she's from.
I am Dusk of Ulasil. It is an honor to see thee again. I shall follow thy wishes.
Now firstly, we can learn a gesture from Dusk. And then we can also buy a ton of spells. They're all pretty much light based, but she also sells the Ulasil Ivory Catalyst, which is really good if you don't have a high intelligence stat. So we'll be using some of those spells in the future maybe. Except for repair, as I said, they're all light based. And none of them have offensive effects.
For a very long time, I was trapped within the crystal golem. From my home I was taken, and banished to a plane of distortion. It was there that thou came to my rescue, long after I had relinquished all hope. So gleeful was I. My faith reneweth. The sorceries of Ulasil differ from the magic of thine age. It is difficult to explain. Ulasil's sorceries are, what doth one say? They're somewhat of an approximation. Thine sorceries are more straightforward, negating all but thyself. Dost thou not find some fascination in these discrepancies? The sorceries, thine, dost thou... If thou art in need, pray summon me again. I only wish to be of some genuine assistance. May the flames guide thee.
Alright, now that we have talked to Dusk, we should go back to where we fought the Crystal Golem, and we can retrieve a pimpin' dress. If you don't get it, you might have to quit and reload to find the dress as well. Now there's one more thing here we can do. We don't have to, but since we're already here, why not? There's a door up here and we got the key after fighting the Moonlight Butterfly. The description of the key reads: the basement of the watchtower forms a stone cell. There are rumors of a hero turned hollow who was locked away by a dear friend. For his own good, of course. And there we can already hear him walking. Normally he would wait, but for some reason he's already aggroed. Attacking him through the door is not the smartest idea, probably. It's not exactly how I would want to fight him. He won't come out. He will just stay inside the tower at all times. And he is most likely that hero turned hollow that the description of the key mentioned. And his name's Havel actually, but we don't know that yet. He's one fierce opponent. He uses, well, one of the heaviest sets of armor in the game, one of the best shields in the game, and a weapon that really hits hard. It will, if you block, pretty much always break your guard, and if you don't block, and you're not wearing at least medium heavy armor as I do, you'll probably die. Now, I don't really know if I will be able to survive a hit, but I don't intend on finding out the hard way. The fight can drag on for quite a while if you don't have really high attack power. Because my axe didn't do so much damage, I decided to switch to Pyromancy. Combustion does a little more damage than my axe at the very least. Even though his armor has really high magic resistance and decent fire resistance, it still works out. Because it also has really high physical resistance. And I will just love to use this armor at some point in the game. If we get it. Well, we will get it, I can tell you that much. But sadly, not for just killing him. For killing him though, we get a rather nice ring. It's called Havel's ring, and it increases our total equal burden, which allows us to use heavier sets of armor basically. And its description reads, this ring was named after Havel the Rock, Lord Gwyn's old battlefield compatriot. Havel's men wore this ring to express faith in their leader and to carry a heavier load. And there it is. And now with Havel dead, we could go up these stairs and go back to the Undead Burg. But for now, I say goodbye. I hope to see you again next time.